as soon as we get him in, we're going to be able to ask him some questions. It's been a truly, truly memorable day. Dr. Singh, while we're waiting, I'd like to start with you because you were there. You know, we saw it on TV. You were there. The emotions, the fervor, the tears. What was it like seeing our scientists felicitated in the manner that they were this morning? And relive that moment for us for a moment, sir.
No, I think because Honorable Prime Minister Shri Modi has a natural connect with the scientific fraternity. Also because he has a natural temper for science. And I think never before the scientific community has felt so enabled before. Because we had the talent, we had the potential, we had the capabilities, we had the capacity to work hard. You would recall the pictures of Sarabhai carrying launcher on the carriage of his bicycle. But I think what was lacking was at the level of the policy planners, at the level of the leadership of the day, the kind of enabling milieu which was required for the scientist to put in his best or her best. That has happened in the recent few years, particularly in the last 4 or 5 years after Prime Minister Modi unlocked the gates of Sriharikota. Now you would recall on the 14th of July, when the launching of this mission happened, Chandrayaan-3, we had more than about 1,000 media persons. Now this was a place which was forbidden even for peeping inside the gates of the launching station. We had boys and girls from colleges, schools, we had members of society, we had people from all over India there to work. And that is also resulted in a feeling of belonging, the manner in which the whole nation was. Also, we, on the one hand, I think Prime Minister's support has been at 2 levels primarily. One, of course, the moral support, which you saw happening when Chandrayaan-2 did not go the way it went and he was there, which you saw today also. And he said that my mind, my heart was here, although I was there. And second, at the level of the support otherwise, the funding, the kind of freedom to work. We were working in a kind of, we had a wheel of secrecy, I don't know for what reason, that was thrown open to the private participation. Within 3-4 years, we have more than 150 private startups working in collaboration with Sriharikota, some of them world-class startups. Many of them have turned into lucrative entrepreneurs. Now we have the National Research Foundation Anusandhan policy brought in just in the last session of the Parliament, which will be even more enabling, which will give room to about 60-70% of the participation from non-government sources. So I think if you have to play a global role, if you have to live up to the global parameters, if you have to meet the global challenges, and if you have to establish ourselves as a global leader, as a global player, we would have to follow the global strategies and the global work style, which was not happening before Prime Minister Modi came in. And now, I think the demarcation with the public and the private has to go away. The industry has to be an equal stakeholder. The era of working in silos is over. A more synergized and integrated approach is what is required. And I think this has done wonders in just 3-4 years in the last, ever since a new policy came in.
In just a moment, I'm going to play out the highlights of what the Prime Minister announced today. I'm sure many of you have already heard the big announcements, but it's different listening to the Prime Minister actually say them, because like the Minister just said, there is a personal connect, there is an emotion involved when the Prime Minister is there in person, and he made it a point, Dr. Singh, to be there in person. Because we all remember...
And a huge gesture, Shiv.
Yes.
Even before he landed in the national capital, he was there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. From Greece, he flew straight to Bengaluru, which was a gesture. I was in Bengaluru, Dr. Singh, in 2019 during Chandrayaan-2. And I remember the emotion and the pain. I will never say that any space mission can be called a failure because of the huge number of learnings from Chandrayaan-2 that have fueled Chandrayaan-3. It is because of Chandrayaan-2's learnings and lessons that Chandrayaan-3 has actually been a success. But how you've interacted with those same persons who were there then and now, sir.
Yeah.
How have they taken, that sense of loss, that sense of pain, and converted it into this global success?
Yeah, to add to what you're saying, actually, it's never unsuccessful. Rather, on the contrary, even if you see statistically, our record is much better compared to several other countries who have actually started out much earlier than us, be it the United States of America, be it the then Soviet Union. Yeah. For example, most of their missions, and all these gentlemen from the space fraternity would bear me out, have not been successful in first 2-3 attempts. The US has made more than 4 or 5 attempts in certain cases before getting a safe or a successful landing. So the landing did happen even in case Chandrayaan-2.
Yes.
That's why Chandrayaan-2 was there to welcome Chandrayaan-3 and send out a signal, hi buddy, welcome. So what has happened, it did end up to the same logic culmination as we had envisaged. So that was one thing. B, now learning from that experience, the design was changed, the structure was different, even the software was made more precise. So much of hard work has gone, which is just unimaginable. Artificial dummy moons were created. It was practiced. And that's why those of us who were closely associated with the mission or had been watching were more nervous on certain occasions. Like, for example, when Chandrayaan suddenly comes down from about 300 kilometer downwards, then the speed goes down from 6,000 kilometer per hour to just about 200 odd kilometers.
Nobody was breathing at that time.
And towards 150 or 50 meters, then it's left to the wisdom of Vikram. Because we have no contact. Then that is the actual test. How well we have trained this boy. You know, just when you send a soldier to the front and, then it is up to him to take the precise decision. So there it is to decide on its own within that small radius where exactly it should be landing. But fortunately, and I think that also speaks volumes about all these gentlemen, it didn't take even a moment. It just landed where it had to, where it was heading for. It didn't even have to change. The signals were so precise, so smooth. In fact, it happened a few moments, a few seconds, a few minutes earlier than it was expected to happen.
It's truly a privilege to have you here on a day like this when the nation has honored, through the Prime Minister, the heroes of ISRO, to have all of you here at this BT India at 100 event. Is a privilege and an honor for us. You were talking about the landing, Dr. Singh. All of us in the media reported those 15 minutes of terror, the kind of trust you have to place in the lander itself. I've just gotten a signal that we have Dr. Somanath, the chief of ISRO, the man of the moment, one of the most humble people you'll ever meet, because he is someone who never takes the credit. He always points at his team. You're not going to be able to see him here, but he is going to be live and you're going to be able to hear him. First of all, a big round of applause for Dr. Somanath.
And before you connect him, Shiv, I would just like to clarify before the audience, he was keen to be here. I mean, he's been in touch with me. He couldn't because all of them are busy monitoring the entire mission. So they can't be leaving the monitoring station. So that's a very good reason for him not to be here.
So when he says he's busy, he really, really means it. So the Chandrayaan-3 mission has a window of 14 days, small amount of time, and they have the pressure and expectations of space agencies across the world, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Dr. Singh,
also because
who are going to be
the inferences which are going to be obtained by Chandrayaan-3 are going to be eye-opener even for the rest of the world, because this is a new area which is unexplored hitherto, the virgin area of the South Pole. B, even though Americans landed a human being way back, 1969, Neil Armstrong, but it was Chandrayaan series which brought back the evidence of the presence of water molecules. So that makes it even more interesting, and even that finding was an eye-opener for the rest of the world, because it gives you a direct or an indirect indication of the possibility or complete or whole or less possibility of the human habitat being there or even life. So it makes it all the more interesting.
Dr. Somanath, welcome. So good to have you, and truly, truly a privilege for us to have you on this first interaction at the BT India 100 event. Congratulations on behalf of all of us here at the India Today Group and everyone watching this right now. You're sitting at the ISRO headquarters with your amazing team who are now the adulation of the entire world. We also watched the Prime Minister felicitate you. Tell us what that was like, Dr. Somanath, to start with. The emotions involved in this morning's felicitation ceremony with Prime Minister Modi.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Honorable Minister and all my colleagues that who are there at the studio and as well as with us today in the headquarters. It is a privilege, to have our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister amongst us during those critical events. In fact, he was there with us during the landing, though he was at South Africa. His heart and soul, I believe, was with us, and we could feel it. His face was changing when it was almost making that soft landing, and his face came out overjoyed to see the soft touching, and he was so eager to speak to us. And we enjoyed his initial comments and congratulations in the control room while we were enjoying the soft landing of the Chandrayaan-3. And he offered us that he will come to Bangalore, the control center, in maybe soon as he is able to. And he took his word, and that we were waiting for that moment to happen. And when he came, he was so apologetical to us. I think that must be his nature. And he said that, so I am very sorry that you people are waiting early morning to come to the control center and receive us. Then I told that, sir, we all work 24 hours a day, so it's okay. But then you all should understand that he himself became emotional. Then you think about us, that type of emotion that goes through our mind, not only seeing our fruits of our effort becoming successful, but also seeing our honorable Prime Minister amongst us, just close to us, congratulating us and saying nice words about us, and also realizing the contribution that we made for our making our India proud.
One of the, the biggest takeaway from we in the media, Dr. Somanath, as you know, we're always looking for that big headline in every event. And for us, the big headline was that August 23rd, the day that you and your team achieved, what nobody else in the world has ever achieved, landing a spacecraft on the south pole of the moon. That date has been declared as National Space Day. We know that there has been a global space week that is celebrated, but India now has the honor, Dr. Somanath, of having its very own National Space Day, and that's thanks to you and your team, sir.
Yeah, that's a fantastic thing that can happen. Now we have a place to our credit, a day to our credit for our accomplishment related to moon or related to space. Say, all of we know that the Space Week celebrations, which is a United Nations celebration of two great events of the erstwhile powerful nations into space, and their work is what is credited in the World Space Week. Today, you just imagine that India can duly talk about a Space Week. It's a National Space Week. I think it has a rightful place for being a World Space Week, Space Day. So I believe that our contribution in terms of going to moon, landing on the South Pole, being very unique in the history of the human beings. I think this is something phenomenal to happen for us. And it also places India, to the top of the world.
Dr. Somanath, the landing site names was a source of great suspense for millions of people across the country. Everyone was wondering what the site where Vikram has landed will be designated, will be called. Were you expecting the Prime Minister to make that announcement today? Because everyone had their fingers crossed that an announcement would be named, and the Prime Minister did not disappoint. He's named it Shiv Shakti Point, where the Vikram has landed.
No, he indicated very clearly that it has always been a thinking in his mind that we must name these lights right from Chandrayaan-2 time. He's explained to us why at that time it was not done. He said, we must land safely first. We must make a soft landing. Then we will name. This is he decided. And his decision is now come to a fruition today. He decided, and he named both the sites, Chandrayaan-2 as well as Chandrayaan-3 sites. Chandrayaan-3 as Shiva Shakti Point and Chandrayaan-2 as Tiranga Point. Oh, we were overjoyed by this naming. I think it is conventional for space people when such a extra planetary event take place. We generally name such locations, so it is customary. But it is very spontaneous from him to identify the name which is more Indianized, Indian sounding name, and this is something very unique, and he only can do that.
Dr. Somanath, Dr. Singh, Dr. Jitendra Singh, the Minister of State for Science and Technology, is also here. We've been talking to him. Unfortunately, you can't see each other, but you can hear each other. One of the wonderful images from today's ceremony at the ISRO was the Prime Minister and Dr. Somanath with the amazing community of women scientists of ISRO. They've become such a huge inspiration and an eye-opener for people across the country. I am from the South. I am aware about how ISRO has a large community of women scientists. For many people, this was completely new and an eye-opener, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a huge presence of women scientists in most of our mission teams, even in the forthcoming Gaganyaan team. But I don't know whether you notice, Shiv, when Somanath ji was referring to Prime Minister's connect with the scientific fraternity, the Prime Minister's expression when he came, he had the presence of mind to say that I was impatient to meet you all, that's why I've come straight here, but my impatience might have caused inconvenience to you because I'm disturbing you early morning. So look here, the presence of mind of a person. He was so much consumed of his own, urge to meet the scientific fraternity there, but at the same time, he was conscious enough, had the presence of mind enough to also realize if possibly they might have undergone the inconvenience of rising up early morning. So I think that makes the connect between Prime Minister and every section of society, for that matter, in case the scientific fraternity, very spontaneous, very natural.
Dr. Somanath, the Prime Minister apologized for waking you all up early, but I am going to guess that none of you have had any sleep since the Vikram lander actually touched the lunar surface. So there's no question of waking up early. You've all been completely awake since August 23rd, sir. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, you are right to a certain extent. As much as we have to be there, our team is there working on the scientific objectives. So you must know that the moon rises and sets in 12 hours, but it rises and sets in other part of the world. So what we do is as long as it is visible to us, our ground station can collect data. But it goes to the other side of the world, then we rely on other ground stations. So being 14 days mission, it is so important that we continue to collect the data as much as we can throughout the 24 hours. So our scientific community, not only them, the mission executives, the mission directors, the science people, they work around the clock. And I am sure they will be catching some sleeps occasionally. They are trained to do that whenever there is a demand for putting your best times forward. They are good at it. So I'm very happy that they will continue to work for next 14 days to finish off their task.
Shiva, on a lighter note, actually, from the point of view of moon, it's a day going on. So it's going to be 14 Earth days equal to 1 lunar day. So yes, they will have to remain awake as long as the sun sets after 14 days.
So they get to sleep after 14 days only. Amazing. That's what the people of ISRO are actually made of. And there's no rest. I'm going to come to that, and we have the other scientists who we're going to talk to also in just a moment. But Dr. Somanath has with him the entire team of Chandrayaan, the senior leadership, the project directors, associate director Dr. Kalpana is also there. She was one among the many women scientists who was there this morning when the Prime Minister specifically spent time with them. Dr. Singh, you also saw that in Bengaluru. Dr. Kalpana, if you can hear me, I hope you can hear me as well. Give us your thoughts and sentiments, ma'am. Shiv Shakti has been, is the name that's been given to the landing site. That has its own connotations, Shiv and Shakti. The Nari Shakti of ISRO is something that the Prime Minister has made it a point to highlight quite a bit. Images of our amazing women scientists like yourself, ma'am, have been going viral all across the internet. I know you've not had time to see it, but what was the day like for you and women scientists like you of ISRO today, ma'am?
Regarding the name, yes, we were curiously waiting for what is the name that is going to be announced by our Honorable Prime Minister. And when he had announced, it was really overwhelming because he had rightly chosen the name, accounting our women contribution also. So it indicates the equal contribution of men and women involved in this project. So it was a really jubilating moment. We really enjoyed that name when it was announced. And the Honorable Prime Minister had a very good interaction with our women scientists, and that was highly inspiring because there was good amount of interaction on the overall experiences of the women scientists involved here in the space program.
And Dr. Kalpana, what is the mood like in ISRO? We saw, even when the Prime Minister had logged in through that video call on the day of the landing and today in person, there was a purity, ma'am, in the smiles and the emotions across all of your faces, all of the women scientists as well. What has the mood been like at your place of work since the Prime Minister left this morning?
It was thorough enjoyment. Actually, it was such a jubilating moment because it is a fruit of all the hard work that has gone in by our young team. It's a mixture of young and a senior team involved. So it was really a jubilating moment. It was, they rightly deserve this enjoyment because it is a fruit of good amount of hard work that has gone in for the past so many years.
Incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible that this entire community of space scientists are able to keep their spirits up. Enjoy things for a little while, being able to compartmentalize their time and still do this. Dr. Singh, and I'll go to the scientists as well after this, is that, sir, this is not just national pressure on ISRO. This is global pressure. India is the first country in the world to land a spacecraft on the south pole of the moon, which means whether it is NASA, whether it is the European Space Agency, whether it is any other space agency, they are all counting on what Dr. Somanath and his team are going to do over the next 12, 13 days, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely, Shiv. A, because the terrain is unexplored, the kind of conclusions and inferences that are going to be obtained will be also for the first time be available to all the space agencies, including NASA, and see the manner in which this mission has been planned. There's going to be a wide range of experimentation and information gathering. For example, last time it discovered the presence of water molecules, it now would like to go further. And in the south polar area, you also expect some craters, some water, ice, particles, etc. So presence of oxygen, presence of hydrogen, etc. Then the atmospheric studies, the plasma, ion and electron, the ionic atmosphere. At the third level, it might go in for the soil elements, the magnesium, calcium, potassium, the presence, not presence, quantity of presence. At fourth level, it might go in for the seismicity, the moonquakes, the vulnerability. Then it might also go in for in situ studies. Then also the possibilities of petroleum, sources. So it's going to be a wide range of experiments which are going to gather inferences which might have a bearing for human beings on the earth as well. So I think it's going to be not only interesting, it's also going to unfold many mysteries of the universe. As I said, when Chandrayaan brought back the evidence of the water molecules being there, I think that was the first time the mankind was inspired to find scientific answers to those poetic imageries and the poetic fantasies of people living there, and which was a subject of literature, cinema, etc. The first time there was a motivation, look here, we could find scientific answers to that.
Every time there is a big rocket launch or a space mission, you see the rocket launch, from Sriharikota, the Satish Dhawan Space Center. You see the beautiful images of the rocket. You very rarely or very briefly see the people behind the mission. This time things have been different. There has been a personal touch. You've seen the faces of the scientists. You're seeing them right now here at the BT India at 100 event. And we've invited these scientists also.
And before you go over to them, Shiv, I would just like to put on record the appreciation and acknowledgement of Prime Minister Modi in making this happen. It has been possible, these friends here, because Prime Minister brought us out from that wheel of secrecy.
It's incredible. And that's the reason, what I'd also like to say is scientists like to do their work. They don't like to be in front of the media. They'd rather continue doing their work very quietly. So that's the reason why I'd like to thank all of you, especially for taking the time out and being here, because we understand that the spotlight is not something that you create. Nilesh ji, who's based out of Ahmedabad, and he is director of the Space Application Center. He played a role in the Chandrayaan program's landing, some of those decisions. You've heard him in the media recently because he has been a very important component in the large ecosystem that takes care of things. Before I go back to Dr. Somanath and his team, Nilesh ji, very quickly, tell us about what today felt like. After all that hard work, after the success on August the 23rd, what did today feel like with the honor and felicitation, sir?
Yeah. Thank you. And it has really been a great motivating moment, and especially with our presence of our Honorable Prime Minister, who instantly connects with the people from a small child to a renowned scientist. So that we could experience in person today in his presence. And when he said with emotions that he was very eager to land in the country and first meet scientists like all of us. So it was really a very elating moment for all of us. And especially we were more motivated because, as all of you may be aware, Chandrayaan-1, we had almost 30% of instruments which were indigenous, built in India. Then we moved to Chandrayaan-2, where we had in the orbiter almost 100% of instruments built by our scientists here. And this time it was with a soft landing also, all the features have been thought of and integrated with the experience and the capabilities of our scientists. So it has really been a very satisfying as well as very motivating experience with the presence of Honorable Prime Minister, and earlier during launch, Honorable Minister was also there. So it was really a great moment for all of the scientists here present, and especially with the presence of we have a 30% women force in our institution, and we would strive to achieve that 50% or more target also. So considering that, this motivation for even our women scientists was a great affair today. Thank you.
Dr. Bharadwaj, sentiments today. Entire nation with you. You know, scientists, sometimes science may feel like a lonely profession. You're in the lab or you're behind a computer or doing something. Here, do you suddenly feel like the entire country is with you?
Yeah, it was certainly a euphoric moment for all of us when we had a successful landing. And for scientists who developed the instrument which is working now on the moon, it gives a great feel of satisfaction for all of us that the baby which you created and sent it on the lander, Vikram lander and the Pragyan rover, working very well and giving us excellent quality of science data. We are extremely busy right now for next 14 days till the lunar day continues, and we'll try to collect as much data as possible to bring out new science, as has been already told that this landing site is extremely new. We have landed for the first time. But let me also tell you that now India has 4 spacecraft around the moon.
Yeah.
Chandrayaan-2 orbiter, propulsion module of Chandrayaan-3, the Vikram lander, and the Pragyan rover. So four spacecraft on the moon.
And the first at the South Pole. So,
all right.
This is absolutely history. It's unprecedented. Dr. Somanath, Dr. Bharadwaj just mentioned the Pragyan. Pragyan is on everyone's mind, on everyone's lips. Everyone is hooked to the ISRO's social media accounts, waiting for those latest pictures of cute little Pragyan. How is he doing? What's the latest from Pragyan that you can share with us, sir?
Pragyan is doing fantastic science now. It has moved almost 12 meters plus from the lander. It's moving very slowly. It's a cute little baby. Can't run fast. It's only crawling. So it is equipped with very fantastic instruments and also beautiful navigation cameras. But the data rate from that is extremely small and the speed is small. So we have to do very slowly only. We are expecting to turn such a way that it can take some pictures of the lander in today, tomorrow. We hope that it will happen. But I want to tell you a very important announcement that the instruments of the Pragyan, both of them are working very well, and they have done sampling of the lunar regolith using a laser-based instrument as well as an alpha particle-based instrument. Both are giving beautiful results. Of course, the scientists there can explain the details to you. But then I only say that what we wanted to achieve through the Pragyan has been achieved, and we looking at building much more faster, more resilient Pragyans versions in the future. This is inspiring us because it's a complex robotic mission with its own intelligence, and we packed everything in such a small space to do an independent satellite work in just 35 kilograms far away on the moon. It's a remarkable engineering piece.
It's the marvel of the entire country. I'm sure there's an entire generation of parents who are going to name their kids Vikram and Pragyan. That's for sure. Those names are going to come back into fashion very soon. Ritesh, no rest for ISRO. You know, I will end with Dr. Somanath, but before that, I'll get words from the three of you. No rest for ISRO. 14 days of Chandrayaan-3. Then you've got your India's first mission to the sun. By the way, I hope you all know that ISRO on September 2nd will be blasting off towards the sun, the Aditya L1 mission. After that, you've got Gaganyaan, as Dr. Singh also was telling us. So no rest. Your hands are full with missions now.
Thank you, Shiva, and good evening to all of you. And on a lighter note, first I want to tell, today our Honorable Prime Minister has given the name Shiva Shakti. Yes. And you must be delighted because your name is also contains
I've
there.
been getting messages all day about that, by the way.
Okay, now coming to the hard work of this one, when the lander craft was crash landed on the 2019 6 September night, then we were not disheartened because our Honorable Prime Minister was there and he has given the motivational speech, and from their failures we came back and again we did a lot of experiments. So like not a single point where we can get the failure, because the system what we built this time, this was not where we are getting the success, but where we are getting the failure. Means these are the testing of the boundary conditions. So we did the crane test, helicopter test, then propulsion test. Many tests we have carried out. And after that, the 4 years of hard work of all the scientists and engineers, we did the field test, etc. And the crater we have made at the Chittadurga as well as the Sriharikota. And there we have did all the like hazard avoidance systems. And you have seen the last like 15 seconds of event. There was one hazard detection and avoidance method was happened. So there we have to find out that where we have to land safely. So that also we did autonomously, and after the loss of field test only we came to get the results, and we got the confidence, yeah, really, we can do this time, and we achieved this one. So this was one of the main crux of this, all the hard work and the event, that do lots of field work, then only no one can beat you to get the success.
Dr. Srivastava, very quickly, your sentiments on a day like this. Every man and woman of ISRO and our space community matters in missions like this.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a great feeling on 23rd August and also today when the Prime Minister addressed all of us. The feelings cannot be really described in words. And I can say one thing, that last time when we could not do the soft landing on moon, Prime Minister came next morning and he talked about the ISRO spirit. And I think it is that ISRO spirit which could make it happen. Thank you so very much.
Incredible. And Hari Krishna, and final comment from you about looking forward to the next one. You know, failures and successes are going to be part of reaching into the unknown, but it's about moving on, learning and moving on quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shiv. It's truly an honor to be here, and we take it each and every step, and then we march on. So here, being in Delhi, we know that the kind of pulse, the kind of support that we are getting from all of you, it does really matter to us. The kind of support that we get from the people of India, that only helps us to march ahead.
And I can promise you that with the kind of viewership that the Chandrayaan-3 mission has had online on social media, I'm sure you've seen all the records being broken. The fact is, every single thing that ISRO does from now on is going to be a mega event, and I can personally guarantee you that it will be big here on India Today. I'd like to end with the heroes of the day, Dr. Somanath and his team. Sir, many people wanted me to ask you this question, so I'm going to end on a light note. How do space scientists unwind, sir? With your high-pressure jobs, what do you guys do? And Dr. Somanath, I'm especially asking you this question because there is a viral video of you dancing, sir. So many people in the country think space scientists also got the moves. How do you unwind, Dr. Somanath?
Before I end, now it's important for me to introduce my team here. The project director Veera Muthuvel, Kalpana, you mentioned, director of the URSC Shankaran, the mission director Srikanth, director of LPSC Dr. Narayanan, scientific secretary Shantanu, and Dr. Anil Kumar, associate director of the ISTRAC, and also director of ISTRAC Ramakrishnan. So thank you for this. But you coming back to your question, unwinding. We'd never unwind the way I danced in that day video. We do not have parties after the successes. Our way of unwinding is in a different manner. I think many of the people whom I know have developed various passions other than the science and engineering. They have created passions for themselves. Some of them are very good musicians. Some of them are excellent instrument players. Some of them do beautiful art, and some of them get into social work, and some of them be with their family. And those type of social life only is that actually they don't have an extravagant social life possibility at all. So because of their work nature of the work and very confined and little controlled environment of the work, which makes them not to be exposed too much. I think very large percentage of our staff, scientists, etc., conform to the living conditions and the boundaries into which they need to perform. So it naturally may put them into unwinding and relaxing through lighter personal level activities, which they many of them create. Some of them write beautiful articles. I have heard some of them, they have musics made out of it. I have so many of my colleagues. Occasionally, we get together as members of family and then showcase our own talents, and we organize within centers, etc., to do these type of things. So they find their own ways of unwinding, but not into the social circles of unwinding that you are more familiar with. Absolutely not.
No, Shiv, if you permit, because Somanath is being very modest. I think the work culture which is followed in ISRO is a kind of a role model for all professional groups. It's a perfect blend of Indian tradition and the most modern, updated scientific practice. After every launch, there is an SOP which is gone from generation to generation. They pay obeisance at Tirupati at the beginning of the session, then afterwards, after the successful culmination. And you know, the unwinding part. Soon after the official announcement is made of the mission having been successful, they distribute a laddu, a Tirupati laddu. So that is their unwinding club. So and the other part of it is that nobody superannuates in ISRO. If you see the picture, you'll find all the former chairmen also sitting there, all the retired scientists. So they adopt a mission as a life's mission. So they don't dissociate themselves even when they are officially no longer there. And with the Prime Minister having brought in the changes that have been there in the last 4 or 5 years, I agree with you, as you said in the beginning, there's been a quantum jump. And you said they are very busy now with Aditya and Gaganyaan. They're going to be all the more busy because so many of the private missions also lined up now. And as far as the space economy is concerned, we were just 1 billion space economy right now. We hope to be 40 billion by 2040. And the projection yesterday only, I think 2 days back, the ARL projection, the other projection, even predicted that we could achieve 100 billion, the manner in which at the pace at which we have started moving after the unlocking of the space sector by Prime Minister Modi. So I think they're going to be very, very busy for good reasons and going to contribute to the economy of India in future.
I'd only like to end by not only saluting and thanking all of our scientists, Dr. Somanath and his team, but I also want to specifically mention and salute their families, the people behind them, the people who are the strength behind them, giving them the latitude and the freedom to do the incredible work that has made this nation completely so proud. So our namaskars to them, our salutes, none of that is ever going to be enough. And we will, of course, be celebrating National Space Day next year on August 23rd. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, Dr. Somanath and team. Thank you.